Dear colleagues, first of all, I want to thank all the shadow rapporteurs for the very constructive and compromising way that we were building this file. We were building it before the happenings in Ukraine. And even if the focus has shifted in the moment on security issues that result from the illegal and criminal and inhumane invasion of Putin's troops into Ukraine, the biggest threat, mid and long term, to our common security is the devastating effects of global warming, causing extreme weather, causing natural catastrophes like droughts, like floods, like tornadoes, like rising sea level. It has devastating effects on food productions. It creates conflicts and fuels conflicts around the world, and it creates a big competition and conflict around resources like land and water. All sectors of our economy and all sectors of our society actually have to contribute and are contributing to a CO2 neutral society. While the military services and security services, especially the military services, are not even mentioned in the Paris Agreement. We have to be aware of that, even though they are one of the biggest emitters and one of the biggest absorbers of fossil fuels that we have in our societies. But through climate mainstreaming of the European Commission and the Green Deal and all of us together, this also has an impact on our security service. So there's a clear demand also towards the security services to reduce their CO2 emissions by 30%. And by knowing that far more than 50% of the CO2 emissions actually come from cooling and heating or from procurement and other services, we see that there's a huge potential even before we start talking potentially electrifying tanks. And this may sound like a joke, but I had conversations with generals who saw the security advantage of possibly actually producing their own fuel on the base somewhere in the Sahel zone to actually run some of their equipments without being dependent on fossil fuel deliveries. We have to be aware that this report is pointing out clearly towards the security needs that we're having also in terms of cooperation with local population, which is very much also related to the question whether we are equipped for extreme weather. What advantage does it have if we have equipment on the ground which we cannot use because it's just too hot or weather extremes are preventing us from using it? But also equipping our missions with the tools to actually cope with extreme weather can also be of use to also help civilians and local population to cope with extreme weather. And this cooperation with local population is also key for us in terms of peace building, in terms of peacemaking, in terms of also cooperating on local solutions, which also make our civilian and military missions more secure for our staff people. So this cooperation, local cooperation, is key, and the experience of many of our generals is that the cooperation, especially with women on the ground, is very much delivering. You'll find this in the report. We also have to see that we need climate experts in our missions, because meanwhile we have data where we can actually already see well ahead where potential conflicts or already existing conflicts are accelerating through climate data. Because a lot of the conflicts that we see are actually based on land and water conflicts. And to use these data, to bring them all together, to analyze them, and to have people on the ground that are able to cope with these informations will allow us and can allow us to also prevent conflicts and prevent actual clashes and violent activities on the ground. And last but not least, there's a lot of initiatives across all our sectors. We're having it in the External Action Service, we're having it in the Defense Fund, NATO is working on climate strategies, national governments are working on climate strategies. And this report also points out that we need to align all of that to one common defense and climate strategy. This is very important that we use the knowledge that is there, the activity is there, because we need to accept the reality that this is the biggest security threat we have, long-term and mid-term. We need to be prepared. And for this, we launched this report with the hope that we're getting forward in these long-term solutions with some goals. Thank you very much.